Welcome to the Quick Start Guide for the HD Hero 960 camera. My name is Russell. I'm the president of Eye of Mine, and I'm going to go over the features of the camera and the menu system, and we'll go ahead and dive in. This is actually exactly the same camera as the big brother, the HD Hero. The only difference is they've taken out some features, but the lens, the sensor, all the electronics are the same. They just have turned off some features. And the first obvious difference is going to be the number of resolutions. HD Hero has 5, and the 960 has 3. And you notice that the Big Brother has the port on the back, and the 960 does not. And this is for LCD screens and some future other peripherals that are going to come. And so with the 960, you don't get that, but you also get a really nice, inexpensive price for the camera. So I think it's worth it. So let's go over the external of the camera. This is the blinking LED screen, and it blinks when you're taking a video or stills. SD card. This is where you hear any beeps. This is where the beeps come from. And then the shutter button. This is the microphone. Even though it's on the top, it actually can sense everything around it. It seems to be omnidirectional. And then the top is the high definition video out. Note that this is video only, and if you want to have audio in addition to the video, you need to grab audio from this bottom plug. This is standard definition. You can plug this into your TV and get standard definition and audio. And if for the HD, you plug the HD, and then just the audio goes into your TV for this. Because you can have both these plugged in, but if they are both plugged in, then the video takes precedence. HD video takes precedence over the standard video. Middle plug is the USB. If the camera is off and you plug it in, it starts charging the battery. If you plug the camera into the computer while the camera is on, it acts as a hard drive, and it'll sense the SD card as a hard drive, and you can copy files to and from the computer. And then the battery, we've got a proprietary battery. In order to open this, you need to push, and it comes right off. Don't pull it or you're going to break it. And then the battery just slips right out. You have to use your fingernails because it goes in real tight. And put the lid back on. So let's go ahead and dive into the camera. We're going to turn the camera on. You push and let go after about a half second. And then about a second later, you hear a beep and the display will come on. Don't hold it until you hear a beep, or else it's going to go to the next mode, which is probably not what you want. If you see 3 dashes, that means there's no card in there, and this does not have an internal memory. So make sure the card is in there, and then it'll tell you how many files are on the card. Now, this display is only showing you how many total files are on the SD card. It has nothing to do with seconds that you've shot, or seconds remaining, or only videos, or only stills. It's just the total files that's on the SD card. So I'm going to show you the modes that are in this camera, and I'm going to get back to the very beginning so we can do this in order. So the very first mode is still picture mode, and if I just hit it once, it takes a picture. It's as simple as that, nothing complicated. There is only one resolution, the 5 megapixel mode, and so there's no changing of resolutions. The next mode is called the triple shot mode. If I push this, it takes 3 shots in a row, but notice that lag. There's a lot of lag before it takes it, so I'm not sure when you'd ever use that. The next mode is the video mode. And in this camera, it's defaulting to starting up in the video mode, and I'll explain how to change that later. And so to take a picture, you just hit the top, and the display blinks, and the LED blinks, and you hit the top again to make it stop. Go to the next mode, and that is the self-timer, preset at 10 seconds. And then the next mode is the tricky mode. This is the time-lapse mode. And I say it's tricky because it uses the exact same icon as the still picture mode. And if I go ahead and hit the shutter button, it's going to take 1 picture every 2 seconds. That's what I have it set for. And it's tricky in that when you're in a hurry at an event and you're going through the modes and you see that still picture icon, you think you're in still picture mode, not realizing that it's blinking. So just make sure that you are in the right mode. Otherwise, you'll be taking pictures for hours and not even know it. So now the next mode is the settings mode. We're going to go ahead and get into this, so the top button. And this first mode is called one button mode, and this is the oddball to all of the modes in the camera. F, by the way, always means off, and O always means on for all of the settings. So I'm going to turn this on, and watch what happens when I turn the camera on. It's going to be very, very easy to use. So it's going to turn itself on and immediately start videotaping. Top button doesn't do anything, and in order to stop recording, you just hit the front button again, and it'll shut itself down. So if you're loaning your camera to somebody, or you've got gloves and a helmet and you don't want to deal with messing with buttons, you just turn it on and it'll automatically start recording. Now, to get out of this mode, because you can't do anything, can't get any settings or anything while it's in this mode, is you have to push and hold the top shutter for 3 seconds and then let go. And then what it does is it goes into settings mode. So then you hit the top button again, and it's still the one button mode is still on. You got to hit the top button a third time, and now it goes off. So now we are out of that one button touch, and we're back into normal mode for the camera. So now I'm going to go to the next menu item. By the way, I have a cheat sheet for all of this that you're looking at. It goes through the entire menu system for the 960, and that's downloadable at our website. So the second menu option after the one button mode is startup mode. And this has options of, you can start up in video, which they have an F for film, but that actually indicates video mode. So that means that when you turn the camera on, it'll default to the video mode. And then the next one is picture mode. And this is that triple shot mode. And this is the time lapse. And I'm not sure what the PE5 means, because you can have time lapse every 2 seconds, 5 seconds, 10 seconds. But anyway, this is you're telling the camera what mode you want it to start in. So I'm going to go back to video, and there it is. So the next mode is your resolution. So now this is what's written on the back. And the first one is WVGA at 60 frames a second. And this is DVD widescreen. And then the next mode is 720 at 30 frames a second. And then the third is 960 at 30 frames a second. So those are your 3 choices with this camera. The Big Brother has a couple more resolutions, but that's what your choices are. So we're at resolution 3. So to go to the next one, this is your metering. SCNT means center metering, and if I make my choice, it would be spot metering is the other choice, and it adds an icon on the bottom right. Spot metering is when you have a circumstance, say you've got a race car driver who's got a very bright background or a dark background around him, and if you put him directly in the center of the what the camera sees, then it will meter just for that, your subject. But just make sure your subject is not moving around on screen, or else your exposure will go all over the place. So I'm going to turn it back to center metering, because that's normal. And then the next mode is upside down. When it says up, that's normal. When it says upside down UPD, that's when you've got it on a roll bar mount or some instance where you have to have the camera upside down. Then the software will rotate it for you, and it'll be right side up. Now, you can ignore this and do this in editing programs. Most decent editing programs will rotate 180 degrees. This is the live video feed, and F is off, and if I turn it to on, and now it'll have live video out of either high def or standard definition the entire time. Note, though, that if you're recording with the camera, the high def downgrades to standard definition, the top plug. Now, if you want to play back files in the camera, you have to turn this off. It's either one or the other. And then this next mode is on-screen icons. This is related to the other mode. When you have live video out, you can either have the icons be displayed, which would be what mode you're in, blinking red light, the amount of time you shot, all that can be displayed or not displayed. If you want to do some editing with the signal that's coming out, then you probably want to turn these off, the on-screen display. Next one is the time-lapse mode. You can have one picture every 2 seconds, 5 seconds, 10 seconds, 30 seconds, and 60 seconds. And then the next one is the blinking. You can have it on or off, and that's the blinking red LED indicator in the front. And the next is the beeping on or off, and it beeps for anything you do with this camera. But if you're at a church or a wedding and you don't want to have this thing beeping as you're making setting changes. And this one's easily confused with ESC, escape, which is the last menu setting to get you out of the settings. This is NTSC. This is the standard United States video format. So when it's at NTSC, it's outputting at 30 frames a second with this camera. If I change it to PAL, it's now going to output to 25 frames a second, both on the output and also the recorded videos on the SD card. If I were to hit, go ahead and go to the next selection, it's going to turn the camera off and turn the camera back on because it has to reconfigure the internal electronics for that new frame rate. So I'm going to go back to NTSC. And LST means delete last image on the card. You hit the top button once and then hit it again and it'll delete the last image. And this is delete all files off of the SD card. And you hit it once and then you hit it twice and it'll blink for about 10 seconds and then everything will be erased off the card. And the next one is the standby mode. And I do not recommend having it in the off position. This is when you have the camera just sitting here and you're not recording, you're not doing anything. How long do you want to have it sit before it shuts itself off? You can have 60 seconds, 120, or 300 seconds. Now, if you're using the camera as a webcam or if you're just taking the signal out here and recording that and not recording with the camera, you do want to have it off because you want the thing shutting off because the camera will sense that you're not recording and you're not doing anything. So in that instance, you want to have it in the off position. And the date, this is a little funny because once I get into the dates mode, these two buttons now reversed, and this now does what this does. And I'm not going to go into all this, but this is the year, date, month, and so we'll just go through all this. And that basically was the entire menu. But like I said, we have a cheat sheet that goes over everything that we just did, and you can laminate this or fold it up and put it with the camera because a month from now you won't remember what all these acronyms mean. And that basically is the Hero 960, and it's a very powerful camera, reasonably priced, and hope you enjoy it.